Hi everyone, Stepan here. I'm going to show you a very interesting tactical game which ended pretty quickly, in which the main team is underestimating the danger of your opponent's pieces. I'm playing an opponent I've played twice before. He beat me once 3 or 4 years ago, and I beat him last year. I had the black pieces every time I played him. I have the black pieces again, which is unfortunate. And we are playing a league game, and we're playing on board 1. It's played on 6 boards, and we are sharing first place on the first board up to this game. So he had an almost perfect score, had 1 loss. I had 2 draws. All the other games we both won. I prepared a lot of stuff for this game. I didn't get any of it on the board, unfortunately. D4, D5, he played C4, I played C6. And now on knight C3 I was going to play E6, trying to get the Marshall Gambit, which is a crazy opening. I spent 2 days preparing it. Against knight F3 I played pawn to E6, and I was hoping to get the node boom after knight C3 and takes. Both of these, the Marshall and the node boom, I've never played before. I prepared them for this game because I wanted it to be an open position in which anything could happen and in which I could hopefully out-prepare my opponent. I should mention that my opponent is a very strong player compared with me. Okay, he played pawn to E3 here, which is okay. Doesn't allow the node. Okay, knight F6, pawn to B3, knight BD7, and bishop to B2. Now, this is a slightly provocative move order, and the reason is it allows black to go for a stonewall setup with this bishop not being able to come to A3 in one move, trading off my dark squared bishop. So I know that sounds strange, but if I play knight E4 and let's say bishop to D3, I could continue F5, or I could continue bishop to B4. If I go F5, then usually black would like to keep this bishop and white would like to trade it off, and the usual maneuver is, for example, castles and bishop to D6, and white would like to play bishop A3 to trade the bishop off, but he's moved it already, so it's not as favorable. But that's a minute difference. The other way I could play this position is, as I said, with knight E4, bishop D3 and bishop B4, where he plays knight D2, and again I play pawn to F5. I don't really like playing the stonewall, to be honest, so I didn't want to go for this. I played bishop D6, which is the main move. After the game we discussed the possibilities of knight E4, and it certainly would have given me a more active position, but a different type of position. Okay, bishop D3, both sides castle, this is all normal. And here I played a move which I was so mad when I played it because it makes no sense. It's not a losing move or anything, it's not a blunder, but considering what I'm trying to do and what my opponent is trying to do, it is a bad move. So in this position I would like to play C5 or I would like to play E5. Those are the pawn breaks. I basically have to play one of them if I want to equalize and get some chances. I prefer playing with B6, bishop B7 and C5, but playing E5 can be very good. I played rook E8. Now, if my opponent plays a nothing move, for example, knight BD2, then I can play E5 and takes. For example, I have this isolated pawn, but I have a very promising position. Both of my bishops are good. My pieces can be flying into white's position quickly, and maybe I can use the E4 square. The bishop is attacked. This is an okay position. But after rook E8, of course, he can play knight E5. So that makes no sense. And here I probably should play C5 straight away, which I didn't do, and I got a slightly worse position. Instead of rook E8, I can play a normal move, like B6. And B6 is the main move. There have been hundreds of games from this position. Knight BD2, bishop to B7, and okay, knight E5, C5, CD, ED, This has all been played many times before, and I actually know these lines. So takes, bishop c4. Also, after castles, I can play knight e4 straight away. And after queen c2, again f5, going into a sort of stone wall, where white's best is actually to play bishop a3. And after bishop a3, knight a3, I go rook f6 and try to start an attack. But I played rook e8, he did play knight e5, and I played queen c7, which provokes f4. f4 is a move he wants to play anyway. I should have played c5, which is better than queen c7, and after f4 just b6 and get my bishop to b7 and try to liquidate in the center to open up my bishops. Both sides, I would say, have attacking chances in that position. After queen c7, white is simply better, has better pieces, more space in the center. f4. Okay, b6 now. I'm not losing or anything, but it's just easier to play white. Knight d2, normal development, bishop b7, rook f3. Okay, here, this is actually what I'd expected, and again, the position is easier for white to play, should be slightly better for white, but black is not much worse. I played what I thought was best, and it is best probably. I took on c4, bc4 of course, and now c5. Opening up my bishop with the tempo on the rook. I also could have played knight f8, getting my knight into the defense, and then c5 later. But the point is I have to play c5 at some point. Okay, rook h3, attacking, knight f8, and queen e2. Now the engine says this is plus 0.6, so it should be almost equal. I have one good bishop. My bishop on d6 is sort of a bad piece, even though it looks very active. Unless I can somehow get rid of this, it's going to be a bad piece. I never want to take on e5, because probably then I lose automatically, removing the defender of h7 and simply allowing all of his pieces into my position. So I played rook a d8, trying to put pressure on d4. Okay, rook f1. And at this point, I had a long think, and this is a critical position. It's very, very complicated. Nothing has been traded off except one pair of pawns. So have a think here. This is the point at which you have to start sensing the danger on your king side. I played a positional idea, or a strategic idea rather, which is too slow. It's not a bad idea, but there's simply no time for that. In this position, you need to play very precisely, and you need to understand exactly what's going on. Okay, so the main threat for white is to play knight g4 at some point, which of course I saw. And to follow that up with d5. Or with dc, but probably d5 to make sure my bishop doesn't get to c5. Because if takes on c5, then bishop takes, and all of a sudden e3 is weaker, and these two pieces are kind of loose, in conjunction with knight g4 if the queen recaptures. So those are the attacking ideas. Of course, the main idea behind both knight g4 and d5 is to put pressure on h7 with the queen, rook, and the bishop on d3. So basically what white wants to do is make sure these two pieces weaken h7 enough so that these three pieces can get to it. Once that happens, I have no defense around my king. So the correct move here, the correct idea, is to play rook e7. And rook e7 is a very strong defensive move. Now, it makes perfect sense to do this, because in the event of any sacrifices on h7 or on g6, if I move my pawn up to g6 or on g7, this rook can defend laterally if white starts to weaken the position with knight g4. Because then after f5, gaining a tempo on the queen, my rook just defends perfectly. So for example, if knight g4 is played, black is automatically better. Knight takes, queen takes, and f5. And this rook is a perfect defensive piece. If queen h4, for example, everything's defended, I can just continue cd4. And if bishop takes, there is no threat. There are no threats in the position. So after rook e7, knight g4 is not possible. If dc5, again, black is better. Bishop c5, pressure here. Knight g4 now almost loses a piece, I think. Knight g4, queen takes, f5, and yeah, it actually does lose a piece. d5 also doesn't work because of e d5, and after c d5, knight d5. Everything is defended sufficiently, so I'm completely okay. The engine recommends bishop a8 and then says it's bad. I don't know what to think about this move. I don't really understand bishop a8. Maybe wants to start an attack, but I don't see that happening. Okay, so rook e7 is definitely the way to go. It's a good prophylactic move which makes sure that everything is defended in anticipation of knight g4. I played queen b8. Queen b8 is a bad move. Now, what I would like to do, if white does nothing, let's say king h1, I would like to play queen a8. And again, if he does nothing, then I challenge the e4 square. Once I challenge the e4 square, he's not getting to my king. For example, knight e4. And I'm blocking everything up. So that's what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, this is way too slow, and he can play knight g4. And my position is still okay. The engine says about +1. Now there's a funny line which I didn't go for. I blundered here. I definitely lost the game on the next move, because again I completely underestimated the power of his attack because I missed a very strong sacrifice, which he saw. I played bishop e7. The idea is to challenge this bishop after the trade happens. I have no time for that. And you're going to see how I lost in the next 5 moves. What I should have done here is knight g4. Now, queen g4 is simply not possible because of f5. And here, the engine actually prefers black, says -1 for black. The queen should retreat, and I simply liquidate. And I was going to play bishop c5. I think this has to be good for me. There's tremendous pressure along the d file, and this bishop is blocked. So after knight takes g4, the line I was looking at, which I didn't like, is actually bishop takes h7. And I have to take. Queen takes g4 now. And in this position, knight f6. Now that this bishop has been traded off, f5 weakens my king further and doesn't block the bishop, so it makes no sense. Queen h4. And now I wasn't really sure what to do. So okay, let's say king to f8, because you have to defend mate. That's the first thing. And now dc5, opening up the bishop. Now if you take on c5, and this much I did see, you're losing. So bishop c5, simply bishop f6, and after g f6, queen f6, there is no defense to rook h8. This I saw, and that's why I thought knight g4 loses. But there's a defense. After dc5, you actually play king e7, which is a very hard move to see when you're calculating. C d6, queen d6, and black should be fine. Now, in this position, seeing the move king e7 for me was impossible. So let's go over that again. So knight g4, bishop h7. Okay, knight h7, queen g4. Knight f6, queen h4. This is all pretty much forced, I think. King f8, and after dc5, opening up the bishop, king e7, I didn't see. I just never considered it. So I thought knight g4 loses. It's the best move. Bishop e7 loses, and it loses immediately. Now, remember when I said that in conjunction with knight g4, d5 is a strong idea? Well, now it works. After d5, the bishop is open. And I decided that taking on g4 now was correct. So takes, queen takes, and g6, and I thought I'm defending, and I'd completely missed what he's going to do next. After his next move, I wanted to resign, but I played on for a few more moves. Of course, this is a forced win. The engine announces mate, actually, rook h7, and when he played rook h7, I realized, okay, yeah, okay, this works. It's one of those moves that once you see them, you see everything clearly, as if you've become smarter all of a sudden. It just works. It's just so if I take with the king, then it's mate in, I don't know, 2. Yeah, queen h5, king g8, and mate. If I don't take, then it's mate on h8. So I have to take with the knight. And now bishop takes g6, another sacrifice. If I take, it's mate in 2. So knight f6 is the only move, and now queen to g5. I mean, what can I do? It's forced mate. It's a forced mate. So again, if I don't take the bishop moves and I get mated. So I took the bishop, queen takes g6, king f8, and in this position he played bishop f6 and I resigned. I was actually going to allow him to checkmate me with d6, but he didn't see that. This is just checkmate. That's nothing. So I got destroyed. I got absolutely destroyed. Starting with rook e8, which is a bad move, and then after knight e5, queen c7, which is a terrible move. And in this position, after rook f1, trying to go for this strategic idea of controlling e4, which again is not a bad idea if you had time to do it, because e4 is an important square, but not understanding what's important in the position as a whole is just bad. Rook e7 was required. I didn't even consider rook e7 because I thought everything was sufficiently defended with my 2 knights on f8 and f6. Congratulations to my opponent. I think it was a beautiful game. We analyzed some parts of the game afterwards, and we mainly discussed how passively I played the opening, which I agree with. I played a theoretical position, but a position that's just easier to play for white. Thank you for watching. Hope you got something from this game, and stay tuned for more chess. Bye bye.